Good afternoon, brothers and sisters.
Good afternoon.
It's good to see you. Well, if my life were a movie or a fairy tale, it would be a story that would start with when I was 18, almost 19. I was standing there in a satin wedding gown, and my husband beside me was 23 in a white tuxedo. And that began our life together. My heart's desire at that time was to be a wife and mother, to be a homemaker. I liked making my own bread, sewing. You know, I cooked almost everything from scratch. And, you know, I served my husband. I woke up early in the morning before he did. I made his coffee, I packed his lunch, I ran his bath. I even helped him in the office with the secretarial chores of running a business because he was a contractor. And we had 5 beautiful children together: Lauren, Larry, Deanna, Regina, and Dean. And I also homeschooled our children because that's what he wanted and thought was important. So we were living that life, and after 20 years of marriage, it came to an abrupt end. He had had a heavy drinking problem really all through our marriage, but it got worse towards the end, especially as he got more and more angry about the changes in the church and tried to force me to see things his way. And so there was that, and then also that he started having mental problems, and he refused to get help. So there was really nothing I could do if someone doesn't want to get help. I just couldn't continue living with him with the abusive nature, the way that he was acting and treating our family. So I ended up leaving in the middle of the night and was basically living in hiding for 4 months. And this began the journey into a new life. And this was when I began to see God as my husband. Now, if that sounds strange, I don't know, it shouldn't, because it is all throughout the Bible. You know, God describes himself as a husband to ancient Israel. And I think it's someplace in Isaiah, he says he is a father to the fatherless and a husband to the widow. And so at that time I told God, I only want you to be my husband. I don't want any other man. And so I looked to God as my provider. And a woman who has a husband will a lot of times look to her husband as a provider. I know I did when I was married. But now I can only look straight to God. So I talk to God about everything I need all the time. And, you know, a husband, an earthly husband, will probably try to do things to try to please his wife, to give her little surprises, maybe jewelry, or give her some experience that he knows she would love. Well, God, at the same way, he has ways of giving me the desires of my heart. And it talks about that in Psalms. David talked about how God does that, and I've seen that in my life, how God has given me the desires of my heart. I used to want things like jewelry when I was married, and my husband didn't give me those kind of gifts, so I started buying them for myself. And, you know, it was an interesting experience, you know. After Mervin's wife, Laura, passed away, he ended up parting with all of her jewelry, and he gave it to me. And my daughters and I shared this jewelry with some of you here in the church and some of my coworkers, but I just felt like God was pouring out blessing on me. And, you know, it's not something I desire anymore. I don't desire jewelry. I can enjoy it, but, you know, I just feel like God has satisfied my desire for that. And my greatest desire, really, is that my children would be happy and healthy, and to know that they love God, that they have a relationship with God. And that has been a great joy to me, to see how that has developed in these last several years. And my oldest daughter, Lauren, she's here, back from the Navy. She earned her bachelor's degree at UC Irvine and then went into a Navy program where she became an officer. And so she served 7 years in the Navy, and she spent a year in Korea, and she traveled all over the United States. And I'm very happy to have her back home, though, because it's nice to have her close, and she also has the opportunity now to take a temporary retirement from the Navy to pursue her master's degree. And so that is my hope for her, is just to see how things will work out in her life and to see her happy and fulfilled. And with also my son Larry, you know him, he came back to the church after being away for a while. And he just really got into serving here at NewLife. He played the guitar. He went on mission trips, Janet planned, to Bahamas and Philippines and Mexico. And it was just a real joy to me when he met Franny, when he began serving in the International Christian Fellowship at Pasadena City College. She is Chinese, and they married last December. And she's just the sweetest young lady, and I just really love having her as a daughter-in-law. And so that just gives me great joy to see that. And my daughter Deanna, she just graduated with her bachelor's degree last May from APU. And so, I'm so proud of her. It's like, I've watched her grow up. She was a little ballet dancer when she was young, and a gymnast, and she used to live in her tutus and gymnastics outfits. And when she was only like 3 or 4, she shocked us all by jumping from the ladder of the bunk bed and landing in a split. That was our first clue that she's going to be a gymnast or something. So, as my kids were growing up, I tried my best to provide them with lessons, classes in gymnastics and dancing and singing and musical instruments, and just all of the things that might help them, whatever it was their interest was. When I found out they were interested in something, I would try to latch onto that as quickly as possible and take advantage of that interest. So I feel that's been one thing I've really done right, I think, with my kids. It takes sacrifice, it takes extra money to pay for lessons and things like that, and driving them back and forth to them and all that. But I'm really glad that I did, because I feel my children have really been able to develop these talents because of that. And Deanna also got the opportunity. She was worship leader here at here at NewLife for a while. But this past summer, she did an internship at Pasadena House of Prayer. And she was taking classes there and also able to be a worship leader during some of their sessions. So, she's just growing in her abilities to serve God, and I'm just thankful that all of my children are developing this relationship with God. And Regina also, she's in her junior year at APU and is currently in Peru, where she's very homesick. And she will be returning here in about 3 weeks, so if you could continue praying for her, I'd be so happy to have her home. And some of you have had the opportunity to hear Regina sing. I'm her mom. I know I'm prejudiced, but I think she sings like an angel. And I used to tell her that she should be a professional singer. I really felt like she had the talent to do it, but as time went on, it became clear to me and to her that that really wasn't in her heart, because she loves worshiping God with song, not necessarily performing in front of people. And I think as much as people tend to idolize the life of a movie star and that kind of thing, it's really not the kind of life that she wants. So, and finally, my son Dean, who is here with us, and I am so proud of him too. Dean has really been growing in his musical ability in these last few years, and playing drums, playing guitar, playing piano, and he's also taking voice now. And I remember a few years back when his sisters were going around the house practicing singing, he really got tired of hearing them. and it almost made him not want to hear the praise songs too. They would practice the praise songs, and but now he's attending classes at a place that's called it's called IOP, Instruments of Praise, and they meet down here at Lake Avenue Church on Thursday. So his singing lessons are also geared around praise, and so I'm really happy to see him serving here at church and doing the sound technician thing, or playing guitar or drums or whatever he can be involved in. His pre-kindergarten teacher told me, she said, Dean loves to explain things to me, even in pre-K. And if that could give me a clue, I would think, well, maybe someday he would want to be a teacher or something. He really loves talking about subjects that he enjoys, and he is an avid learner. If he's interested in a topic, he will, look on the internet or wherever, and he'll get all the information about it. So he educates me on topics about musicians and movies and lots of different things. So anyway, I'm really proud of my children, and so, it looks like I have a perfect life, right? I have the desires of my heart, and God is my husband, and all of these things. Well, there's still struggles in life. It's not perfect. And one thing I haven't, I don't think I've really shared with you, is that myself and all of my children have at times suffered with depression. I don't know if I've talked about this. I may have mentioned there was a time in my life that I considered suicide, and this was before I separated from my husband. And I think it was getting pretty serious. It was to the point that I was imagining how I might carry it out. And my husband became worried and started, he would go to karate class, and he had someone come stay with me during that time because he was kind of worried. But at the same time, part of my stress was caused because he was badgering me about the church, so that was what was sort of frustrating me. At that time, I learned that for me, praise is like the greatest cure for depression. Even if things are tough, if you start praising God and singing, it doesn't seem so bad. You're going to start feeling joyful, and like God is going to deliver you out of whatever problems you're facing, But each of my children had their own struggles with depression as well, and a few of them I have taken to therapists, some longer than others. Deanna even had a problem with anorexia for over a year, and I took her to a therapist and a dietitian. God got us all through all of these experiences, and my kids are stronger now. I think they're kind of grown past that. That doesn't mean things like that still can't come up, but for a while it was a real, kind of a concern for me. The other thing is my job. I've got this great job with the post office that a lot of people would love to have. People think that's one man said to me, "You've got a lifetimer job," and some people think, it's great because you've got all the benefits, and that is true. But like most companies, the post office is trying to get as much as they can out of their employees, and it all is based on seniority. So since I'm at the lower end of the seniority, I don't get top choice of routes. I get like near the last choice, but it so happens that I really love my route because it's in a really nice area, but it's also really long and really heavy. So that's a constant struggle for me, and the job is not as easy as it looks. If you've seen a mailman on TV, you might see him, or you might even see mailmen walking about your neighborhood. You might see them when they're not in a hurry. But on my route, often I am in a hurry, and you're trying to walk as fast as you can. It's not a walk in the park, it's more like a marathon all day. And after I've delivered a whole truck of mail, my body aches, and I feel it in my joints and my muscles, and it's just really hard on my body. And I really would welcome an opportunity to change careers if I can. And I'm waiting for the right time and for God to make this possible at some point, but I would really rather be a therapist. I think it really suits my personality and my gifts more than delivering mail, although there are parts of my job that I enjoy. So I'm hanging in there, but I know that no matter what blessings I have in this life, this is not the true paradise. We only have to watch the news, which I was watching the news yesterday, and also devastated by the news in the Philippines and the other stories that were on there, that they just so sadden me, to think of all the sin that is going on in this evil world and the way that people hurt one another. And I know this is not the paradise, and this is not the end of the story. Our story is still going on, mine and yours, my children's. But I firmly believe that God has made us promises that if we repent and believe, we will be with Him in His kingdom. And I am looking forward to that kingdom. I believe that we will come through this dark world, which is like a tunnel with all of its hazards and the trials that we face, and we're going to come out on the other side where there's a garden and there's blue skies and sunshine, and there's going to be a new world where God welcomes us in. There's going to be no more sin or sadness, no more crying, no more pain, and that is the true happily ever after. I hope we'll all be there together. Thank you.